biggest challenge when it comes to being a medium? In this part 2 video, I'm sharing the 5 final things that I sometimes struggle with as a medium. My hopes are that if it resonates, you'll feel a little less alone. And if you missed part 1, you can click above to check it out. If you haven't subscribed yet, I'd love for you to hit the subscribe button and the bell. Then you'll be notified when I release a new video. I share recordings of my readings, spiritual how-tos, meditations, and so much more. Number 6, trusting your mediumship and handling no's. I had a reading where 2 grandparents came through from opposite sides of the family, so they were not a couple, and they had messages for the parents who were still living of the sitter. Now, while I brought through all kinds of specific validation for this sitter, I also had all kinds of messages of apologies, explanations, details about family dynamics, coping mechanisms, and she seemed confused. I got a lot of no's for a good portion of the reading. At the end of the reading, she was feeling a lot of emotion, and I could tell that she was disappointed. I felt horrible. My worst fear is causing people pain instead of giving them healing. What felt like the right thing to do at the time was to ask her if she was okay. She assured me she was. And then I said, I'd like to check back in with you in a couple days to get some feedback. It feels like it might be good to just let this sit for now. Could I reach out to you? And my plan was to reach out, make sure she was okay, and then offer to reschedule or even to refund her. I actually heard from her, and she told me that she shared everything about the reading with her parents and that they actually validated every single thing that I had said in the reading. I can't tell you how often I get no's during a reading only to receive a follow-up email later to say that what I had said was correct and it got validated at a later time. Sometimes there are details about relationships or people that we don't know, or keepsakes. But what about times when you just plain misinterpret a spiritual impression? This happens. I think it's a good ethical practice to explain how mediumship works so that people understand it's not that difficult to misinterpret a symbol or a sign or a spiritual impression from spirit. The important thing is that you should be at a high level of accuracy so that those things happen in the minority, not the majority. Whether you are just beginning and you're still working on accuracy, or whether you are a highly skilled medium, you've got to get used to getting no's, because even when you might be right, you'll still experience them. And I promise you, there will be times where spirit gives you a piece of information and you're not quite sure what they mean. I had a teacher one time who had us do an exercise where we had to give a reading to somebody who kept a complete deadpan face and said no, 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 over and over and over again, no matter what we said, no matter how accurate it was. It was an amazing experience. It helped me not worry so much about the no's and just focus on that connection that I was having with spirit. You might want to try it out. Number 7. Now this one was a doozy for me, and sometimes it still is, and that is managing and protecting your energy and your emotions. Everyone has a different level of sensitivity. Everyone has different spiritual boundaries, or perhaps struggles to have spiritual boundaries at all. For some of us, especially if you are highly empathic, that can be a challenge. Some people naturally have high energy, which is really helpful as a medium. Some people don't. You've got to do a little bit of trial and error to see, okay, how many readings can I give in a week? How does giving readings affect me? What makes you feel energetically safe and confident during a reading? And also, what kind of spirit work do you want to do? Do you want to do evidential mediumship? Is it possible you'll end up doing trance mediumship or physical mediumship, or that you will be doing healing mediumship? When you first come into your gifts, you've got to learn that mediumship is a practice that requires discipline. You've got to learn how to turn off and not be allowing anything in all the time, or you will crash and burn. When you first begin, it's likely that you won't really know what the energetic toll of giving a reading is for you personally. I myself am a very high energy person, but if you haven't watched my YouTube video, My Dark Night of the Soul, you might want to hear a little bit more about my behind the scenes journey after I decided to go pro and start charging for my readings. I don't have the perfect words of wisdom because every medium is different, except to listen to the whispers and the nudges from spirit about how to take care of yourself. Be aware and alert about what your body is telling you, what your mood and your energy is telling you before, during, and after a reading. When you feel nudged to make changes, to do less, or maybe to do more, or maybe to read for groups versus individuals, listen. And mediumship is so exciting, but don't be afraid to slow down. Your development and training will take a lifetime, and there are plenty of dead people to go around waiting for you to channel them. Number 8, tricky sitters. I'm sure you won't be surprised to hear that sometimes the person sitting with you is not the easiest person to read for. My current least favorite sitter is the person whose partner or spouse has decided they need a reading, even though they don't really want one, or they don't really believe in readings, or they're just uncomfortable and weirded out by being there. Or perhaps you have a skeptic who just wants you to say one wrong thing and you feel that pressure and discomfort from them. Maybe your sitter says, I'm not going to believe anything you say unless you give me the code. The good news is, the more people you sit with, the more readings you do, the more confident you will become, and the easier it will be for you to read for just about anybody. Not necessarily always enjoyable, but doable. And as long as your skeptics aren't incredibly rude or haggling you, you will likely grow to absolutely love them when you see that skeptics are often the people who receive the most healing and the most transformation from your readings. When I have a tricky sitter, the thing that helps me the most is to get out of my ego and into my heart space of reminding myself that this is a service. And often when people have feelings of anger or resentment or anything that feels harsh, it generally comes from hurts that they have experienced. And so I just pay close attention to spirit. I pretend that I'm back in class with a deadpan no over and over again. And I ask spirit and the archangels and my guides to help me get the strongest connection that I can so that I can be of service and leave this person with more love in their life and in their heart than when they came to me. Number 9, feeling lonely or isolated. Maybe you've come into your gifts, but you haven't really told very many people about it, so you're going it alone and a little afraid to let the cat out of the bag. Or perhaps you have told people about it, but not everyone in your life understands. Or maybe they're even angry and think that you've gotten into something evil. You could be anywhere on this spectrum, and any of it can make you feel alone. I found that it's super important to have a community of people that you can talk to, even if that's just 1 or 2 other people who understand what it's like to give readings or receive readings or just feel really open spiritually to you. A great place to find some people that might be able to befriend you and identify with you might be joining a development circle or taking some classes with other aspiring mediums. Those are some of the places that you may find people that you resonate with. We've made it to number 10. Now for me, this is overcoming this feeling of disenchantment. Now what do I mean by that? There's a whole lot of people, modalities, theories, beliefs that get lumped in together as a part of the spiritual community or spiritual work. I'm often a pretty left brain lady who is a little more analytical and definitely cautious and skeptical when it comes to things in this realm. Why? When we talk about intangible services like mediumship, they are harder to prove than other things we've been able to find a way to measure as of yet. And when you pair that up with clients who are receiving intangible services who may be in a deep state of grief, vulnerability, or just desperately looking for someone else to give them answers, that can be a dangerous combination. Sadly, there are so many fraudulent people in all kinds of industries, and that does not exclude the industry of mediumship or spiritual work in general. But sometimes people don't even intend harm at all, but they still use their spiritual gifts and end up hurting other people. I remember when I was pregnant, I went to see someone who I thought was a massage therapist. I didn't realize that she wanted and intended to do some deep spiritual coaching while giving me a massage on the table. I came home feeling so violated, so uncomfortable, and what I realized is that I had not consented for her to use her intuitive gifts to start digging up all of my worst fears about pregnancy and labor. So she charged in with the absolute best of intentions. I spent a lot of time previously in the coaching industry in online marketing strategy. The darker side of that industry that I also find can happen in the industry of spiritual work is toxic positivity, spiritual bypassing, or gaslighting. Maybe we're trying to cheer someone up who needs time to grieve and tell them they shouldn't feel the way that they feel at this moment. Yes, we all have spirits, but the fact remains that we are still human and in a physical body. We live in a physical world, and in my humble opinion, we need to keep 2 feet on the ground, especially while doing spiritual work, so that our gifts can be as effective, as accessible, and as relatable as possible to the people that need them the most. For example, while I love receiving signs from spirit, I don't spend too much time out of my day obsessing over the latest sign or making big decisions based on the last angel number that I saw or the last reading that I got in a mediumship class, because I know that our answers are also present within ourselves. And while these tools can help point us in the right direction, as soon as they serve as distractions, avoidance, or crutches for ourselves and others, they lose their power for good, and like any other tool, become abused. It's so fun to dive in deeply to the world of spirit and develop your gifts and your skills. I believe that we constantly have to ask ourselves if the work we're doing is relatable, down to earth enough to be effective and purposeful for the people who need it the most. Let me know below which one of these challenges resonates the most with you. I'd love to hear from you. And if you're interested in strengthening your clairs so you can speak to spirit, download my free guide below. It's called 3 Easy Exercises to Strengthen Your Clairs and Speak to Spirit. Be sure to check out this video next. If you like this video, give me a like. Feel free to share it with anyone who you think it might be helpful for. Don't forget to subscribe and ring the bell, and then you'll be notified the next time I release a new video.